One major decision which every single human being on earth must make in the days ahead will begin shaping up quickly in 2014, and that's on the topic of just who people think the Pope really is. What I'll detail here is not speculation, but is shown in clear and sobering Bible prophecies. My first point on the topic of Antichrist is that the Bible provides vast amounts of information about Antichrist's specific profile, being the Pope of Rome. In fact, John the Revelator never uses the term Antichrist even once through the entire book of Revelation, but only uses the term false prophet. This is because John, who had written about Antichrist in 90 AD, was suddenly seeing Antichrist with full clarity in the 95 AD vision as being a false prophet, meaning the greatest religious fraud of Christianity ever. From John's perspective, the terms Antichrist and false prophet were synonymous and pinpointed one and the same man. Today, history proves that only the popes of Rome and no other are an exact match and fulfillment to Revelation's false prophet, Antichrist himself. My next topic deals with the coming explosion of awareness and controversy on the topic of Antichrist being the Pope of Rome. Although 7 billion people today are relaxed in their naive opinion about who they think the Pope is, being a wonderful godly man and even Time Magazine's 2013 Man of the Year, the Bible shows that there's coming an explosion of awareness of the Pope being Antichrist and leading up to the very start of the tribulation. For example, during Jesus' teachings on end-time prophecies, one of the concluding prophecies is Matthew 24 verse 33, saying that end-time believers will, quote, see all these things, end quote, which also includes end-time believers seeing and recognizing Antichrist. This is because just several verses before, in Matthew 24 verse 15, Jesus had just indirectly referred to Antichrist by specifically mentioning the abomination of desolation. The topic of the abomination of desolation inherently includes the topic of Antichrist. So Matthew 24 verses 15 and 33 confirm that the end-time body of believers today will not only see all these things, but will also accurately recognize Antichrist as being the Pope of Rome, as precisely identified at Heisnear.com. In fact, the nearly 7 million total visitors to Heisnear.com and its YouTube prophetic videos is an infantile number compared to tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions, of others globally who will also have their eyes snapped open to see the Pope for who he really is. In fact, for many in the body of Christ, then seeing the Pope as Antichrist won't be any controversy at all. This is because born-again believers are the ones who have the Spirit of truth to see accurately according to God's written word. However, some believers will still blindly favor the Pope. Here's another Bible verse which shows that the coming controversy about just who the Pope is will hit its first tangible peak at the actual start of the 7-year tribulation, which is near. Revelation chapter 6 verses 1 and 2 show Antichrist as a rider on a white horse at the start of the tribulation. This confirms Antichrist as having all of the world's attention as the world's #1 icon, second to none, at the start of the 7-year tribulation period. Obviously, the Pope already has this foretold unprecedented world acclaim right now, with over 1.5 billion pledged followers. But since the Pope will have also just signed the 7-year agreement with end-time Israel, then millions of people worldwide familiar with Bible prophecies will be immediately stirred to the ultimate question about just who the Pope really is. Is he Antichrist, or is he a true man of God as he proclaims? Again, this controversy will begin increasing now and will hit its first tangible peak at the very start of tribulation. Another Bible prophecy confirms that right after the 7-year tribulation begins, then the world's alertness and controversy about who the Pope really is and end-time events will have skyrocketed even more. Revelation chapter 6 verses 15 and 16 show that just months into the tribulation, then even the greatest mockers and haters of God themselves keenly and publicly acknowledge God and the horrific end-time events taking place at that time. Now, although I've just presented Bible passages which show the controversy about who the Pope is will quickly shape up and carry into tribulation, people will still be free and unhindered in having their own opinion about the Pope through the entire first half of the 7-year tribulation period. However, the second tangible peak and the real apex point will be at the exact midpoint of the 7-year tribulation. Literally, every single person still on earth at that point will be required, in fact forced, with the mark of the beast, to make their final and public declaration about who they believe the Pope to be. No person will escape this eternal decision, which will be forced upon all by the Pope himself, Revelation's false prophet, one and the same as Antichrist. This is documented in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17. From that mid-7-year point on, then the final 3.5 years of Great Tribulation and Wrath of God will be a non-stop, real-life nightmare with billions of people dying. The world's #1 evil man will take off his friendly mask and reveal his evil nature and will attempt to kill and murder every human being on earth, mark or no mark. Jesus himself clarified this, saying that, quote, unless those days were cut short, meaning by Christ's divine return, then no life would be saved. In other words, once Satan is unchained at the mid-7-year point, then if he had his own way, then he'd kill every last human being on earth. But right now, with Pope Francis's trip to Israel coming in May 2014, and with end-time prophecies already at an apex, then the controversial question will come to the forefront. Namely, is the Pope Antichrist, as the Bible and Revelation specifically profile, and is pinpointed with 100% accuracy at Heisnear.com and in the books and videos I've put forth? Or is he a wonderful man of God and the sole supreme ruler on earth, as he himself proclaims in Vatican doctrines? In closing, one significant bit of information which millions of visitors to Heisnear.com and its YouTube channels have realized is that I'm not the only person who knows that the Pope of Rome is the Bible's Antichrist. History proves many men of God over the centuries also believe the Pope of Rome is Antichrist. Men of God like John Calvin, Martin Luther, John Wesley, William Tyndale, John Wycliffe, Sir Isaac Newton, John Knox, Charles Finney, D.L. Moody, Charles Spurgeon, King James, Joan of Arc, Thomas Jefferson, Galileo, and many others throughout the centuries recognized accurately the Pope of Rome as Antichrist.